Hi everybody, this is Ann Goldberg.
Jane Sloat.
And this is Wisdom of the Age. Today we're going to be continuing our conversation on hormones. So this is my friend Marsha Freedman. And Marsha has an incredible story to tell. The last episode we interviewed Dr. Myrna Matilsky, and she talked to us, right, about how hormones work in the body, what happens when to women and men when hormones are not balanced. And Marsha has such a story to tell that I really wanted everybody to hear this, and so that you can understand if there are certain symptoms that you have, if you're not feeling well, if something suddenly changes and it's just wackadoodle. It might not be that you're in cognitive decline, which is what most people assume.
Right.
So let's
brain fog.
Yeah. So Marsha, tell us your story. What happened?
Well, it is quite a story. It started probably about last year at this time. I had gone to the dentist, had a dental implant put in, and they gave me a 5-day pack of prednisone. It turns out it's a very strong steroid. And after the third day, I said, I can't take this anymore. I literally flipped out. It was like something from a TV show. I'll never forget being at my son's house. My other son was there all night. I was up. It felt like something from a TV show or movie. I was literally freaking out, saying, just shoot me now. I can't go on like this. Now, nothing like this had ever happened before. I have absolutely no history.
Right, that's a really important point. Mm-hmm. So through your life, have you suffered from depression?
Never.
Panic attacks, any kind of mood swings, nothing?
No, I'm pretty balanced. As a matter of fact, I went through a surprise divorce after 20 years of marriage, breast cancer twice, and never reacted that way.
I can tell you.
Yeah.
One of the times that Marsha had breast cancer, I heard, and I and other friends, are you okay? How can we help? She was like, no, I'm fine.
Outpatient.
Literally, it was like a non-event.
So I'm a trooper.
Yeah.
Anyone who could have that outpatient. And I was taking care of people who came to visit me the next day. They weren't taking care of me. So I'm a very positive person. So this was highly unusual, to say the least.
And a speaker on getting over fears.
Right.
So this is not a fearful or worrisome person. So you were at your kids and suddenly...
Literally freaking out.
Like
just freaking out, just kill me. It was just something that was unbelievable. Looking back on it, of course, it's just, how could that have been possible? And so my younger son took me to the doctor, insisted that they see me that day because I couldn't go on like that. And right away, of course, they gave me some kind of Ativan or some psychiatric drug. So over the course of about a month, I went to a psychiatrist, I went to a psychologist. Nothing really was changing. And my son to this day will tell you I had a nervous breakdown now.
That's
what my son, well, by the time I got into the hospital a month later, that's what they call it, clinical depression. The psychiatrist probably call it clinical depression.
And they didn't even ask you if you had taken any medications.
Well, yeah. I don't remember that, but I do remember now in hindsight the fact that I know so much now that they didn't, in anywhere along the 4 months I was involved in this process, did anybody say, gee, this woman never had depression before?
Exactly.
Maybe something else is going on.
It's very often a medication.
So Jane,
you know that.
As a therapist, does depression, like you're fine and then boom, you're depressed? Is that a normal presence? Do you see that?
Of course. Medications cause anxiety, they cause depression, they cause suicidability. People commit suicide with medication.
As a side effect of medication.
Medication.
That's one of the points we want to make here.
They become violent, they lose their cognitive perception.
And with you, nobody traced it to the fact that, wow, this happened right after the prednisone?
No, as a matter of fact, my son had called the dentist. He's friendly with the dentist. And he said, oh, no, by now it has to be out of her body. It couldn't even be that. Well, guess what? They do say 1 out of 25,000 people do have a suicidal hallucinations from this drug. So, of course, they don't tell you that when you get it, and of course, I could never touch those again.
You should have sued them.
And, yeah, well, we can, because if 1 of 25,000, but it helps so many people, the thought process is, well, we can't just stop it.
They had to inform you.
They didn't tell me.
Of the possible side effects, because if you had known that, as soon as this happened, it would have been addressed.
Yeah, I mean, I always of course, I don't take any
Crazy.
drugs.
Mhm.
But if I say, what is that you think you're giving me?
Right.
And I ask every single question
Yeah,
in
me
the
too.
world. And if I make the judgment no, then it's no.
And they're probably not too happy, of course, if you buck. Like I had refused to take tamoxifen after my breast cancer, and they were not very happy that I refused their advice. But I also had done my research and decided it wasn't worth it. So getting back to my story, it was about a month. So this all started last year around January 2nd, right after New Year's. So for a month I was living at home, going to psychiatrists, going to psychologists, they wouldn't let me
I
drive.
saw you during that.
Yeah, I looked pretty bad, right?
I thought you had early onset dementia.
Really?
Yeah. Because you presented in such a way, and it was so sudden that that was the only thing that, in my experience,
Dementia doesn't happen like that sudden.
there is a small incidence of
Really, it's
of
always
something.
what we learn in clinical courses. You always ask, what medications are you taking?
Right.
That's the very, very first question.
Right,
So
'cause people
note
taking
to the
medications.
listener:
Right.
always inform. Know what you're on, and make sure all your healthcare providers know what you're on.
Right, so there's no repetition or negative interaction. So after about that first month, they saw nothing was really helping me. So my son and daughter-in-law had taken me over to the University Hospital Pavilion, thinking I'd go to their outpatient program, that would help. Well, I guess I was acting out a little bit, I don't know.
Well, you were like really
Yeah.
out there.
So the head of the program said, you know what, maybe she'll benefit from 2 days in the hospital.
Right.
Well, those 2 days turned into a month. Nothing changed. The psychiatrist said, you tried different medication.
A month
And it was
in
like
the
being in
hospital.
prison, truthfully.
So if I could just say something, the problem with people taking drugs also is that it sets off things in the brain.
That's what.
It's
Yeah,
not,
that's
it's
exactly.
not that the effects have worn off or haven't worn off.
It doesn't matter.
It's that
It's a switch.
it changes things in the brain.
Right.
Right. So the prednisone, the theory is now, again, it's my theory, it's the holistic doctor I ended up going to, is that prednisone somehow triggered what ended up being after 4 months. I discovered that my hormones were low, anything else you can imagine was low, D3, B12, free T3, things I never heard about, DHEA, and so the doctor I'd gone to said that's why you got depressed.
Okay. So
But that's, yeah.
we're looking at Marsha now, and she is fine, and business is booming for her, and life is back to normal.
Right.
How did this happen? A month in the hospital. This was a 4-month journey to hell.
Right, so the second month I was home going to the outpatient program, but I had to have a companion.
Yeah,
Because I
remember
couldn't
that.
take care of myself. Right. So my son, thank God for my son, paid for all this private care.
We
One
were
of our
worried
temple
that you would
members
burn
lost
down the house,
industry.
leaving the burners on.
Oh.
We were really concerned about
Yeah.
you being alone. Yeah.
Gee, I
and you
mean,
were
it's
terrified to be alone.
Was I say I don't even remember that.
Oh my
that part.
God.
And I really, for the most part, stayed in the house. And finally, I would get out for a little walk around the neighborhood with the companion. I lost a lot of weight, they tell me, and so that was. But I had very, very nice companions. That was wonderful, and friends were coming over, family members. So thank goodness for that support. That's truly important for anybody in any situation. The third month now, nothing's getting better. They said, well, this is the last resort. We're going to try electrical shock treatments with you.
Oh my
Oh my
God.
God.
Okay.
Did he?
And it actually did help. It did help. After the 10th treatment, my son said, you know what? I saw a big change in you, Mom. Yeah. They've changed a lot over the years. It's not like the scary stuff you saw
Oh
back
my
then.
God.
But it did
Carrie
help.
Fisher
It did
went
help.
through it. She talked about that.
Yeah. It did help.
Electric shock.
So I was about 85% better
When
at that
you
point.
say it helped,
Yes.
what did?
It did.
What was the difference that you felt? How did?
Well, I can't really pinpoint it, but I felt more like myself. Okay, I was not 100% comfortable
Jane is throwing
with how
that
I
in her
felt,
mouth.
but this is just what happened. We can
so
comment
shocked.
later on what you feel about it, but let me
It's
complete
not
the
what I
story.
feel about it.
Well, what you know about it, but the point is, let me complete the story, is that I felt much, much better. I was getting out, I was looking a little bit better, I was socializing, and that ended just a few days before my birthday. So people were taking me out, I had a lot of social support, but inside I said, you know, the outside I probably seemed perfectly fine. Inside I said, I'm not quite right. I don't feel 100%. I feel 85%. Was my take on it.
What was
of
off?
myself? Just something inside, something psychologically still just didn't
In
feel
your
right.
brain.
Right.
Yeah,
Because-
something was. I just didn't feel myself. It's
Because
hard
the
to
shock
quantify it.
treatment changes the brain too.
Yeah, but you realize I have to give them some credit in that it was 85% better.
Okay,
So no
fine.
matter what you feel about it, it did get me to the 85. Could all this been avoided? Yes, that's a whole other story. The point is that it did help me, so I'm not going to knock it. But then, not feeling completely myself, I started calling people, so many people, such as yourself, who are more in the holistic world than all these other people I had seen, obviously. And I'm starting to learn about depression and everything else. And I called up a neighbor and a friend I know who's one of the top directors in Juice Plus. And she knows all the doctors and believes in, obviously, holistic. And I said, do you know anybody? She said, absolutely. This Dr. Patricia Peters in Pembroke Pines, all P's. See if you can say that quickly.
Patricia Peters and
Pembroke Pines. She said, saved my husband's life. We went to 3 doctors, walked out. They didn't know what the heck they were talking. She absolutely said, please give me her number. She said, I have to tell you, she doesn't take insurance. I said, you know what?
I don't care.
At this point,
Is she
She's a
a
functional
DO. She's a DO, family medicine.
but she practices functional medicine.
Yeah.
So for those of you who may not know functional medicine looks for the root cause of what's causing the condition. Regular doctors, Western trained doctors, are allopathic doctors, and they're just looking
at
to
symptoms?
cover up with a Band-Aid. Just
Exactly.
address the symptom, but we don't care what's causing it.
And
So,
also the connection between things
right.
that are going on in your body.
Yeah. So I found her. She gave me a 2-hour thorough exam, took my history, and she said, I'm going to send you for some blood workup. It looks like they haven't sent you for this. Like I mentioned with the hormones, free T3, all these things I'd never even heard of.
So,
And so when it came back,
full thyroid panel and full hormone panel, reproductive hormone panel.
yeah,
Plus all the other supporting, probably did selenium and zinc and all of those.
B-complex.
yeah. So I was taking Juice Plus and a bunch of supplements, but while I was in the hospital, they didn't allow that. They didn't allow me to have dental floss, really, because I was in the watch unit, like the suicide watch unit. It was the better of all the units. And my psychiatrist said it's much better there, actually, than a lot of the hospitals he goes to, so I don't want to completely knock it.
Okay.
But looking back, of course, no exercise, no sun, and you're not treated like a normal person who's a professional.
No
You're a sick
sun.
person, right, which is one of the ways to help depression and exercise.
Right.
So I didn't really get what I needed. They thought just playing around with the medicines would help. I'm still, unfortunately, on 2 that they're gradually weaning me off. I think I had 6 or 7. And I want to get off by the end of the year, but I have my appointment in, say, a month. So hopefully be off of the last 2 in a short period of time. Anyway, 2 weeks after when the report came back, and Dr. Peter said, that's why you got depressed and not the other stuff, I'm going to put you on some bioidentical hormones. And as soon as I got the bioidentical hormones, within 2 weeks, I felt 100% like myself.
How were they administered to you?
Well, a couple of them are creams,
Uh-huh.
and 3 are oral, and they're compounded. They're from a special lab, so they're compounded just for me. Insurance, for the most part, is not going to cover it again, but we can't put a price on feeling great, especially after what I went through, right?
When my hormones are even slightly out of balance, it's getting to the point where I can really tell, because all of a sudden my thinking takes a dive towards the negative, towards fear. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
And it's not event driven. It just
Right.
happens.
Physiologically.
Yeah.
Right, it was amazing because my oncologist, because I'm a breast cancer survivor, when I told her I was taking these, because she was also amazed how great I looked and felt when I went in, but she said, I have to tell you, I'm a little hesitant, because years ago, when it was very common for women to take bioidentical hormones, we had an increase in breast cancer.
No, it wasn't.
She
from
said
That, right, they weren't bioidentical.
Okay, but the point to this, and we can go
That
on a
was
million
primer.
tangents here, is
Well,
that...
no, that's a
It's
very
not a
important
tangent.
point. That's
No,
not a
but-
tangent
but
at
let
all.
me- Yeah,
The
okay.
fact fact is that those reports, which are false and were false, were based on false studies that were based on totally chemical garbage hormones that
Hormones
were not,
that are derived from horse urine,
From horse
which is
urine.
not
which is not
the same
identical
thing
to the
To your
human
body, yeah.
organ.
So this is
That's why.
compounding. You have a
Yeah,
compounding lab.
so from that, they made
Concluded
but they did a whole witch hunt
Okay.
on
Against
doctors.
hormone replacement
Well, I would love to have
therapies.
some proof of that to take to her, which I appreciate you ladies get to me.
Well,
And because I was the one who refused the tamoxifen, and here I am 18 years later.
My
So I'd be happy
understanding
to
is
present that.
tamoxifen, because a friend of mine is going through this right now, that if she doesn't take the tamoxifen, she has about a 50-50 chance of the breast cancer coming back. If she takes the tamoxifen, she has about a 50-50 chance of the breast cancer not coming back. That's how they present it to her.
Well, I studied the studies, and what happened was they got the results from putting everybody with breast cancer in the same study. So if I was stage 1 and they put people who are about to die in the same study, that skews it dramatically. When I looked at the numbers and how they came up with it, I said, that's not a 48% improvement, that's more like 4%. So I got rid of the pest control, started eating healthier. I said, I can really beat that 4%, so forget it.
Yeah, well,
And then after that, they want you to take something else afterwards. So what happened was,
And that was how many years ago that you refused it, that you didn't get breast?
at least 18 years ago.
And when did you get the second breast cancer?
Well, no. That was the end. I had the double mastectomy in 2018. So it was previously 4 years before that when I had a lumpectomy, and it was HER2 positive that they wanted me to take it. So it was at that point that they wanted me to take. So I did go through the chemotherapy, but I refused to take the tamoxifen when I was done. And it was a very good decision. So you really need to be an independent, what I'd like your listeners to realize is you have to be an independent thinker. You have to go
Yes.
to other people,
Huh.
do the research, or go to people
research.
such as yourselves who already have the research, and then come to your own conclusion. I'm not going to tell
you how to do it.
I'm not going to tell anybody else what to do, but the point is you have to be your own advocate, because everybody I've spoken to, and I freely share my story with people, every single person had a horror story to tell about a doctor, something that didn't happen that should have happened, something that did happen, that every single person. And everybody seems to really be into the idea of, the holistic medicine now. They
we're
realize
not talking about holistic medicine, we're talking about functional.
Functional.
functional. The
There's
Western
a really,
medicine
there's
is
a big difference,
There
by
is
the
a
way.
big
difference.
Holistic,
Holistic is something in between.
yeah, it's a kind of a catch-all term
Yeah, but
for
you're not-
natural, but
Right, but you're not
It's not-
necessarily dealing with medical doctors,
Right.
and you have to deal with medical doctors.
that's right.
But medical doctors, like Ann said, who know the entire system of the system, a systemic approach,
right.
which is not a symptom of
An understanding of blood work.
and
of the-
understanding.
Well,
And part of the
the whole-
problem with this is that a lot of these blood tests are not covered
Yeah, but
on insurance.
Yeah,
I think
and
the
a lot
scientists
of-
Even a
can fix that.
cholesterol panel.
And
I said to them, why is it I was covered for 65 years, and when I turned 65, you're not paying for it? I would think if anything, you'd be more eager at that point to cover it, but not
Yeah.
covered.
a lot
The lipid
of
panel.
conventional doctors don't know how to read the blood work.
And that's
And
another
that's
piece
what
of it.
exactly happened
That's
to
right.
me. I went to a big endocrinologist at Mount Sinai Hospital, who absolutely should know how to read blood work, right? I had already researched and concluded that I had hypothyroidism.
Right.
And I had all the symptoms. And he said to me, no, there's nothing wrong with you. You're fine. I said, well, don't you want to hear my symptoms? No, I don't have to hear your symptoms.
What?
I know that you're fine.
Based on what?
Based on that he's looking at the blood work that he can't even read right.
Is that something?
This is extraordinary. This is so unbelievable.
Well, even the range that they give, for example, my D3, the range is 30 to 300. Mine was 30. So the Dr. Peters was saying that's at the dangerous health risk level.
Right.
Right.
And when other people look at it, they go, oh, you're in the right
Right.
zone.
And-
But they don't understand the difference between the 30 and the 300.
So part of what distinguishes functional medicine from allopathic medicine are the ranges that are used on these
That are
blood
acceptable,
tests.
yeah.
A functional medicine doctor does not use the standard ranges
Yes,
because they
that's
have
right.
proven to be inaccurate.
It's not just that they're inaccurate, but they're really supporting the drug industry.
Yeah.
That the closer they can get you over the abnormal range, the more likely you are to get prescribed
Pills.
medications. And as for cholesterol, which is the big thing, they have changed the level that they're going to state that you have a cholesterol, a bad cholesterol.
Really?
They've
Interesting.
changed it so that they can prescribe all the cholesterol medication.
Gotcha.
They're
And the things you could do naturally, like they're powder, lecithin granules. My brother discovered can lower, and it's so inexpensive to buy.
Not only
Well,
that, here's the real big thing with cholesterol, and you're going to be hearing in 10
bad
years,
cholesterol.
any
Right.
cholesterol,
Uh-huh.
Well,
Well, some are good cholesterol.
it's got to do with your digestive system.
Mhm.
Because cholesterol is a fat, and if you
right.
don't have the right probiotic or enzyme
That makes
Right.
sense.
to digest
Environment.
That makes
then
sense.
what happens is it stays in the body and it gets into the bloodstream.
That's right.
Interesting.
So what you'll start to see, and you'll see it with functional medicine doctors, and it won't be for another few years until someone figures out a way to make money on it, where there'll be specific tests to determine what your biome is comprised of. Or they'll start to specifically prescribe, it's Lactobacillus reuteri, NN, and then
Wow.
it's 5 numbers. And I
Yeah.
just can't remember those
Me
5
and
numbers.
master's
That's a
degree just to
very
pronounce it.
specific enzyme
Uh-huh.
that digests this fat that turns
Right.
into cholesterol.
so Ann and I are both had gut issues, gut
That's right.
problems,
Oh,
and we are both on a paleo diet.
I'm
Paleo
more than
diet,
paleo.
yeah, well, more or less. The paleo diet eliminates lectins from the diet.
Oh, I don't, yeah.
Well, that's if you really, and I had to eliminate them or I would be dead.
Well, what's the
That was for
Explain
you.
to people what's up.
Lectins
What's that?
are beans.
There's certain plants
And-
that have hard coatings that were designed by nature to protect those plants from varmints, from critters who would come and eat it. And there is a school of thought, and it's true, if you have leaky gut, if you have compromised gut issues, you can't digest lectins. However, it is, in my opinion, that if you're healthy, you have a functioning gut that's not perforated anymore, then lectins are not a problem.
Yeah, so
How about digestive enzymes? Would that help?
Digestive enzymes, when your gut is bad, are critically important. Once you get into better health,
right, you have
you shouldn't need it. The body should be self-sustaining.
right, but don't forget that if you have high stressors in
Yeah.
your life,
Yeah.
your gut
There are
goes
mitigating factors.
south.
Right.
Absolutely.
And everybody's
And you'll-
different too. Everybody's
You know-
lifestyle, everybody's different.
You
so.
know what people say? Oh, my stomach.
Yeah,
I feel
right.
it in my stomach.
That's
Yeah.
right.
It's immediately where you feel it.
That's right.
So
The gut controls everything. I
the
mean,
gut is the second brain,
that's right. And it's a direct relationship to the brain.
and
And
to everything, and to the hormones.
I love to
Everything.
say that the human body is a biochemical feedback system in an electromagnetic field. And this biochemical feedback, when your gut is bad, there are chemical messages being sent to the brain, and it's back and forth, and it can cause depression like that.
Right.
Too much sugar, tiredness,
Cancer.
fatigue, and depression.
Cancer.
Forget cancer off the
Right,
chart.
absolutely.
We know that because how does a doctor know that you have cancer in your body? They put you through a PET scan. What do they give you before the PET scan to light up the cancer? They give you glucose, sugar, because cancer feeds on sugar. So
That's
when
right.
when the sugar finds its way to the cancer lights up. They
Exactly.
go, oh look, there's the hot spots.
It's really
It's
yummy
sugar.
for the cancer
what
cells.
feeds them.
Yeah,
So
so you know.
we know that the gut is directly related, but this situation that you had, I mean, my guess is that your gut took a big hit with everything, the stress
And with all
and
the
the prednisone
chemotherapy,
and over
everything.
the years. But Marsha's health has been good. You haven't had problems. It was this
Yeah, I was always very healthy, by the way. Yeah,
this was though
no medication.
a drop in the bucket that overflowed your bucket, and your body could no longer cope with it until things were righted, whether mechanically through the shock therapy, which maybe jolted your brain back into I have no idea the mechanism.
Right, it hits the
there.
center where the
I know
depression.
Jane is again throwing up a
Yes.
little bit in her mouth at the thought of this, and I understand
It's so
that.
overkill.
It's
I
a last resort,
understand, I
according to them.
understand, but it's so overkill. Unfortunately, you just didn't meet the right people. at the right time.
It probably wasn't necessary. It probably would have been balanced getting back to your hormones. But I think the point of this conversation is that there came a point where you were better, but not fine. And it was addressing your blood work, addressing the thyroid. Did you end up having a thyroid disease? Do you take Synthroid?
I take something called NP thyroid.
Okay, so you
That
have
is- that's-
hypothyroid.
Okay.
That's the same med I take.
Yeah.
So you are hypothyroid.
Well, of course.
Untreated hypothyroid can make you feel like you want to die.
Well, it's also one of the
Huge depressive
reasons.
factor.
Okay.
It's one of the
Huge.
reasons for breast, uterine,
Cancer.
and fallopian cancers.
Because it so screws with the system.
In the periodic table, the chemicals that cause cancers in those sex areas, including men's sex organ places, are eaten up by the chlorines and the fluorines. You understand what I'm saying? Right? So they eat it up, and then there's no thyroid, there's no thyroxine left.
All I know is that untreated hypothyroidism, whether it's autoimmune or not, leads to incredible depression and physical problems, mental problems, brain
Cancers.
fog. I'm not even talking because I'm talking
Yeah.
about what
Right.
Marsha experienced. This brain fog that you can't think your way through anything. So, and then when your estrogen and progesterone is out of balance, when you're estrogen dominant, that also puts you towards depression. So you had factors
Many
going
factors.
in,
Many
and
factors.
then events in your life that happened, job situations that were stressors that caused you enormous stress, and then the physical, surgical, and prednisone, and that was it. It was a perfect storm.
That's what I call
Yeah,
it.
well, let's not
perfect storm.
forget you were going through a divorce.
No, that was years
Oh,
ago.
my
It
God,
That was
doesn't matter.
decades ago.
20, 25
doesn't,
years
It
ago.
doesn't matter.
But now, again, getting back to this point, you were at 85%, but still not feeling right. And the right doctor who understood to look at your blood and really get a profile of the chemical nature of your body and was able to put it back. Wow.
Right, and in spite of the 4 months, someone once said, can you imagine if you never found this doctor? Maybe something worse would have happened to you.
It would have.
And although it was horrible going through the 4 months, in the long run,
You would have gotten
maybe it
cancer
saves your
again.
life. So.
That's what Jane said. You would have gotten cancer again
Yeah.
because your hormones were such that it was supporting the growth of
And
abnormal
I'm
cells.
sorry to be a party pooper, but the word again, it's not really again, because it doesn't necessarily go anywhere. The
Oh,
cancer in a way, but
That's a whole other
that
conversation.
if the system stays the same, there's always that potential.
Well, don't we all have cancer cells in our body?
Always.
It's just a matter of if
That's
they're
right.
triggered or not. So.
Right.
That's right.
Always.
So
It's the process of apoptosis, the healthy process where the body kills abnormal cells that goes awry and
Right.
allows for cancer to start to
so
proliferate
people have to make a total lifestyle change.
when they have cancer. But
Total.
right now, I want to thank you. We've actually just used up our half hour.
Oh, wow.
I told you,
Yeah,
it
it goes
flies
very quickly.
by.
Yes.
And I'm so excited to have had you here because I
My
think this
pleasure.
conversation is so important.
And that people should get these hormones checked. The doctor I went to said anyone over 40, they should have that baseline and get these things checked.
Absolutely.
And, but it's even earlier because of all the toxins people
Yes.
are getting.
Right.
Yes.
Right. But
I
the
think
bottom
that
line,
was
the
really-
point to me is that if something goes awry, look at all your options.
That's
Don't
right.
rush to go to a psychiatrist because all they'll do is write you a prescription. Check it out and really speak with
Educate
people who are in the
yourself.
fundamental, the functional medicine field who know
That's
a lot
right.
more than the other doctors. We need doctors sometimes, but in my case, I don't know that really was the best thing. But I'm okay now, so.
Are you
So that's
at
fine.
100% now?
I'm at 100% plus.
Cool.
Good.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you,
My
Marsha.
pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm Ann Goldberg,
Jane Sloat.
and this is Wisdom of the Age. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.